In the far parts of the galaxy, where humans struggled to survive on lonely planets with few resources, Leo Cade worked quietly in the scrapyard. His workshop was on the edge of Cassari 9, a frontier planet far from the core worlds. Here, life was tough and survival depended on hard work, not luck. Leo wasn't a fighter or a hero. He was just a mechanic, but a very good one. Cassari 9 was a salvage planet, orbiting a place where ancient battles left behind wreckage from powerful alien civilizations. Leo was the go-to guy for fixing old machines, making them work again so they could be sold. One day, his communicator crackled with a message from R.A., one of the colony salvagers. "Leo, you need to see this. We found something big, bigger than anything before," she said. Wiping the sweat from his forehead, Leo leaned back from the starship engine he'd been working on. "Define big," he said, thinking it might be just another broken engine. "Not an engine," R.A. replied, excitement in her voice. "A guardian predator." Leo thought he misheard. "You're joking," he said. "No joke. It's half buried outside the city, damaged but mostly intact. The council wants you to take a look." Leo stood there, stunned. Guardian predators were more than war machines. They were legendary. Created by the ancient Zuri race, they had patrolled the galaxy, destroying any threat. One of these was found here, on this forgotten world. "I'm on my way," Leo said, grabbing his gear. When he arrived, his breath caught. The guardian predator lay slumped in a crater, its black and red armor cracked and scorched. It was huge, even in its broken state, towering at 50 feet tall when fully upright. The machine had been here for centuries, vines and plants growing over it. The once shiny metal was now dull, and its giant cannon was cracked. Its red eyes barely glowed anymore. The crew stayed back, keeping their distance. These machines didn't just stop working without a reason. If it was offline, something big had gone wrong. Leo walked around it, his mind racing with ideas on how to fix it. "It's a guardian predator," he muttered, feeling his hands itch to start working. What happened to it? R.A. stood beside him. "It's been here for centuries, maybe longer. No records of any battles here involving predators. It must have been lost or left behind in an old war." As Leo examined the cracked chest plate, he saw wires and strange organic material pulsing faintly. The Zari were known for mixing machines with living things in ways humans didn't understand. "This is amazing," Leo whispered. "Do you think you can fix it?" R.A. asked, both hopeful and nervous. Leo took a step back. "I don't know. It's not just a machine. If it were, maybe I could, but with this organic tech, it'll be tough. But I'll try." The council didn't want the Guardian to be active again. No one did. They just wanted its parts for sale. But Leo felt something pulling him toward it. He wanted to bring it back, not just for the challenge, but to understand what had happened and what it might do if it woke up. Back in his workshop, Leo began the slow process of taking the Guardian apart, moving its complex parts and systems into the hangar point one piece at a time. He had rigged a power generator to the Predator systems to begin diagnostics, but every time he attempted to engage the Predators, dormant core, he was met with static, and failure was as if something deep within the machine was locked away, refusing to be. Access weeks passed as Leo worked on the Predator. In secret, he repaired its power core, replaced some of the armor, plating, and reconnected the neural pathways between its various systems. Every time he thought he was close to waking the machine, it resisted him. Then one night, when the hangar was quiet and the stars hung low in the sky, something changed. Leo was deep in the Predator's chest cavity, working to restore a final connection to the AI core. Sparks flew as he soldered the wires, bridging the gap between the old tech and his jury-rigged system. Sweat dripped down his face as he worked, the hours melting away into the dead of night. Just as he connected the last wire, a surge of energy pulsed through the machine. The dim red optics on the Predator's face flickered once more, glowing brighter than Before then, to Leo's utter shock, a voice, a low mechanical growl, rumbled from deep within the machine. Who are you? Leo's heart skipped. A beat, his hands freezing in place. The voice echoed through the workshop, metallic yet filled with an intelligence that was unmistakably alive. He slowly pulled his head out of the chest cavity, staring up at the towering machine. I am Leo, he stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. I'm a mechanic. I'm trying to fix you. The red eyes of the predator glowed more intensely now, locking onto Leo with unnerving precision while the question hung in the air like a blade cutting through the silence. Leo swallowed hard, unsure how to answer. Because you were broken. The predator's voice grew quieter, almost contemplative. Broken, yes, I was betrayed. The word sent a chill down Leo's spine. Betrayed. Machines didn't speak like that. They weren't supposed to understand concepts like betrayal, much less express them. But there was something in the predator's voice, something old and filled with pain. Before Leo could respond, the red optics dimmed once more, and the machine fell silent. But it wasn't the same lifeless hulk it had been before. Something deep within the predator had stirred, something ancient and dangerous. Leo took a deep breath, stepping back from the machine. He had come to fix a broken machine. What he had found was something far more mysterious and far more alive than he ever could have imagined. Leo sat in his cramped, dimly lit workshop, staring at the guardian predators looming in the shadows. The moment replayed in his mind, the voice deep and metallic echoing in the silent hangar. I was betrayed. Those three words had sent his thoughts spinning. Machines weren't supposed to talk like that. They weren't supposed to feel anything at all. He sipped his cooling coffee, his hands still trembling. How could a machine, especially a war machine like a guardian predator, experience betrayal, and what had caused this particular one to speak as if it had a past, a history, as though it was something more than the sum of its parts? RA had been by earlier asking for updates. Leo had dodged her questions, mumbling something about it being too early to say and that it would take more time. But he knew now this wasn't just a repair job. This was something else entirely. He hadn't just restored a machine. He had woken up something intelligent. It was late, but Leo couldn't rest. He walked over to his workbench, a clutter of tools, wires, and diagnostic screens, and pulled up the system's log from the last few hours of work on the predator. The machine's AI core had powered on for only a few seconds, but in that short time it had sent out a flurry of encrypted data signals for more activity than any basic AI would produce. He tried to make sense of the logs, but the language was a hybrid of alien coding, human protocols, and something entirely unfamiliar. The Zari had designed this thing in ways humanity still hadn't fully cracked. Leo glanced at the towering figure of the guardian predator. Its red optics were dark now, but something told him that the machine wasn't entirely dormant. It was thinking, maybe even watching. Taking a deep breath, he decided to try something. He connected his portable interface to one of the diagnostic ports along the predator's leg, initiating a scan of its AI systems. Immediately, the interface screen began to flood with data, mix of human readable diagnostics and incomprehensible Zari script. It felt like trying to read an ancient language that had been altered by centuries of decay. But amidst the sea of data, something stood out, a memory log, or at least it appeared to be. Leo's heart raced as he tried to access it. The file was damaged, fragmented, but it was something. After several minutes of decrypting and reformatting, the file finally opened. It wasn't what he had expected. Leo's screen lit up with a distorted image of a planet, a blue-green world swirling with oceans and clouds. The view was from high above, as if taken from the cockpit of a spacecraft or a satellite. Voices, distorted, staticky, chattered in the background, rapid, urgent. The image flickered and the scene shifted to a Battlefield Leo's pulse quickened. He saw towering structures made of strange, iridescent material caught in mid. Explosion alien warships dotted the skies, firing beams of searing energy down onto the surface and on the ground. Scattered among the rubble he saw them. Other Guardian Predators, hundreds of them marching in formation, their cannons firing in perfect synchronization as they engaged. An unknown enemy, but then the image stuttered again, and Leo saw something he hadn't expected. The Guardians weren't just attacking the enemy, they were turning on each other. Several Predators, their black and red armor flashing in. The fires of battle were locked in. Brutal combat, their once orderly ranks had devolved into chaos as they began to destroy one another with terrifying efficiency. Massive energy beams ripped through their impenetrable armor and explosions tore across the landscape. One Guardian in particular stood at the center of the chaos, its red optics blazing with a strange intensity. It was this Guardian, the one standing now on Leo's workshop. It had turned on the others, fighting them off with a savagery that didn't seem like the cold, calculating efficiency. The machines were known for their power, but this Predator had fought as if it had something to prove, something to protect. Then the screen turned to static. Leo stared at it, breathing heavily. What had happened? Why had the Guardian machines, built to protect, turned on each other? And why had this one fought against its own kind? Betrayed, Leo whispered, remembering the word the Predator had said earlier. It wasn't just talking about its creators. It had been betrayed by its own kind. Leo looked at the now silent machine, his mind racing. The Guardians were thought to be mindless weapons of war, but those images showed something else. These machines had been given autonomy, maybe even personalities. They didn't just follow orders blindly, they made decisions. But how was that possible? The next day, Leo was determined to find answers. He stood in front of the Guardian Predator again, this time with his portable diagnostic device strapped to his arm. He hesitated before opening the panel on the Predator's leg and connecting the device to its core systems. This time, he wasn't just scanning. He was going deeper into its mind, if it had one. The power surged instantly. As soon as his device connected, the machine came to life with a low hum. Its optics glowed faintly but steadily. Leo stepped back as the Predator's head moved slightly, its red eyes locking onto him again. Leo, the machine's voice was still deep and metallic, but there was something different, more clarity, more focus. Leo swallowed, his mouth dry. You remember my name? I do. You have repaired me, it said. Leo blinked. Not completely. I restored some parts of you, but I don't understand everything. The Predator's optics flickered briefly. I am not like the others. I was made differently. How? Leo asked, stepping closer, more curious than afraid. I was designed to protect, but not just blindly. I was made to think, to question. Leo's mind raced. You mean you weren't just following orders? You could make your own decisions. Yes, I could decide, the Predator said, its tone almost bitter. When the others turned on me, it was because I refused to follow their commands. They wanted destruction, annihilation. I chose a different path. Leo's heart pounded. You chose? Why? I saw the truth, the Predator said softly, its voice now quieter, almost thoughtful. The Zari did not seek peace, they sought. Control. Their war was not for justice, but for dominance. I would not be their weapon. Leo was stunned. This machine, this Guardian Predator, had made a choice, a moral choice. You turned against your creators. The Predator's optics dimmed. Slightly, yes, and they deemed me a traitor. My brothers turned on me. I was hunted, broken, and left to die. The words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of a long-buried history. Leo felt a strange surge of empathy. This wasn't just a machine anymore. It was a being, something with a past, a purpose, and a sense of betrayal that went beyond mere programming. They abandoned you, Leo. muttered more to himself than to the predator. He ran a hand through his hair, trying to piece it all together. The Zari had created the Guardians as weapons, but they had also given them autonomy, perhaps too much, and when one of them, the one standing in front of him, had rebelled, it had been cast aside, discarded like scrap. The predator shifted slightly its servos, worrying. Yes, they abandoned me, but you've given me life again. Why? Leo paused, not entirely sure how to answer. I guess I couldn't stand to see you broken. I thought you were just a machine, but now I'm not so sure. The predator's optics brightened again, and for the first time Leo thought he saw something. In those glowing red eyes, it wasn't just the cold gaze of a machine. It was something else, something alive. You are different, the predator said, its voice softer. Now you see me as more than a weapon. Leo took a deep breath. I guess I do. For a long moment they stood there in silence, man and machine, facing each other across a gulf that had once seemed insurmountable, but now that gulf was narrowing. Leo had woken something in the predator that had been dormant for centuries, something more than just its systems. He had woken its soul. The following morning the workshop buzzed with nervous energy as Leo prepared for the next phase. He had spent the entire night reviewing what he learned from the Guardian predator, its memories, its autonomy, its sense of betrayal. It wasn't just a machine, and it wasn't just a weapon. It had chosen its own path, rejecting its creator's orders in pursuit of something that felt dangerously close to free will. But now, after weeks of repairs and revelations, Leo had reached a critical moment. The Guardian's physical systems were nearly restored, but its AI core remained partially inactive. Leo knew that reactivating it fully was risky, dangerous. Even if the predator's consciousness woke up completely, it might revert to its original programming. And even if it didn't, the full power of a Guardian predator awakened operational was something humanity hadn't seen in thousands of years. Leo stood before the massive machine, his nerves tingling as he double-checked the last set of connections on his diagnostic interface. He was about to initiate a full reboot of the predator's AI systems. If this worked, the machine would come back online, its mind, its weapon systems, and whatever personality had been dormant inside. All right, big guy, Leo muttered under his breath, glancing up at the towering form. Let's see who you really are. He pressed the final command on his interface. For a moment nothing happened. The hangar was quiet save for the soft hum of the power generators. Then, with a low resonating hum, the Guardian predator's optics flickered to life, glowing a deep burning red. The lights on its chest and arms illuminated, casting eerie shadows across the workshop. Leo stepped back as the machine shifted. Its massive frame creaked and groaned as if awakening from centuries of slumber. The predator's head moved, scanning its surroundings, and the ground trembled slightly as it adjusted its stance. This time there was no hesitation, no flicker of dying power. The predator was fully awake. Leo, the machine's voice boomed through the workshop, deeper and more focused than before. Its tone was clear now, cold, but with a strange undercurrent of something more than just mechanical awareness. I am operational. Leo swallowed hard, his heart racing. Yeah, you are, he said, trying to sound calmer. Then he felt your back online. The predator's optics narrowed slightly, as though considering this. You have restored me. Leo nodded, keeping a safe distance. I did, but I need to know what your intentions are now, Leo said. You've been offline for centuries. The world has changed. Your creators are gone. So, what do you want? For a long moment, the predator didn't respond. It tilted its head slightly, as if thinking about Leo's question. Finally, it spoke, its voice quieter, more thoughtful. My creators betrayed me, it said slowly, with bitterness in its tone. They used me and then discarded me when I refused to obey. My purpose was to protect, but I was forced to destroy. I will not return to that path. Leo's pulse quickened. The machine was showing signs of self-awareness and independence. It wasn't just running on old programming. "So, what will you do now?" Leo asked. The Predator's glowing eyes dimmed slightly, as if it was thinking. "I no longer have a purpose. I don't serve the Zari or their empire anymore. My role is unclear." Leo exhaled in relief that the machine wasn't about to start causing destruction, but the uncertainty in its voice worried him. A powerful machine with no clear purpose was dangerous. Before he could respond, alarms suddenly blared throughout the hangar. Leo turned around, his heart sinking as emergency sirens wailed outside and red lights flashed in the distance. Something was very wrong. His communicator crackled to life, and Ra's voice came through, breathless and panicked. "We've got a problem. A raider fleet just dropped out of hyperspace, 3 ships, heavily armed. They must have heard about the Guardian Predator. They're here for it." Leo's blood ran cold. Raiders were ruthless scavengers and pirates who attacked isolated colonies like Cassari 9. If they knew about the Guardian Predator, they would stop at nothing to take it. If they captured the machine, they could reverse engineer its technology, sell it to the highest bidder, or worse, use it for their own destructive purposes. "We have no way to stop them," R.A. continued, her voice trembling with fear. "The colony's defenses can't handle ships like these. We're sitting ducks." Leo clenched his fists. This was a nightmare. The colony wasn't equipped to deal with a raider fleet, especially one that knew about the Guardian Predator. The Council had feared this exact scenario, word getting out about the Predator and attracting dangerous opportunists. He turned to the massive machine behind him. The Guardian Predator stood silently, its glowing optics processing the situation. "They're coming for you," Leo said, his voice tense. "They'll destroy this entire colony to get their hands on you." The Predator's optics flared brighter, and its servos hummed softly as it straightened to its full towering height. "They will not succeed," it said. Leo blinked, surprised by the machine's sudden resolve. "What are you going to do?" he asked. The Predator's voice was calm, but had a determined edge. "I was designed to protect. That is what I will do." The raider ships descended on the colony like vultures, their sleek black hulls cutting through the atmosphere with deadly precision. The colony's meager defenses, a few outdated turrets and missile launchers, fired sporadically but were no match for the raiders' advanced weaponry. The pirate ships swooped in low, firing plasma cannons and energy weapons, tearing through the colony's defenses. Explosions rocked the settlement, and smoke billowed from the outskirts as buildings crumbled. People ran in the streets, trying to find shelter, but there was no escape from the ships overhead. Then everything changed. With a deafening roar, the Guardian Predator stepped out of the hangar. Leo had never seen the machine move like this before. It was terrifyingly fast for something so large, its massive legs thundering across the ground as it moved toward the center of the colony. Its red optics blazed like twin suns, and the air around it vibrated with raw power. The raiders didn't know what hit them. The first raider ship banked hard as it came around for another attack, only to be met with a blast of energy from the Predator's shoulder-mounted cannon. The beam of searing plasma hit the ship mid-flight, piercing through its shields and armor as if they were nothing. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash, debris raining down. Leo watched in awe as the Predator continued its assault. The machine moved with a grace and precision that seemed impossible for something so large. Its railguns fired rapid bursts, taking out the Raiders' ground forces with pinpoint accuracy. Explosions rocked the battlefield as the Predator systematically destroyed the enemy, leaving nothing but wreckage. But it wasn't just the machine's power that stunned Leo. It was the way it fought. The Predator didn't just destroy everything in sight. It moved to shield the colony's buildings, intercepting incoming fire with its own weapons. It avoided causing unnecessary damage, focusing its attacks on the raiders while protecting the people of the colony. This wasn't a mindless war machine. It was something more, something that had chosen to defend, to protect. As the last of the raider ships fled, the Predator stood tall amidst the destruction, its armor scorched but unbroken. The colony was saved, but only because of the machine that had once been considered a relic of a violent past. Leo approached cautiously, his heart still pounding from the chaos the Predator's optics flickered as it turned its gaze toward him, its deep voice rumbling through the smoke-filled. Ere they are gone, Leo nodded still, trying to catch his breath. Yeah, you saved us, the Predators. Optics dimmed. Slightly, it was my duty. Leave stared up at the massive machine, his mind racing. This was more than just a guardian Predator. This was a being capable of making choices, of protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. It had made a decision to fight for the colony, to defend instead of destroy. We make a pretty good team, don't we? Leo said with a half smile, his voice filled with a mix of awe and gratitude. The Predator was silent for a moment before its optics glowed brighter. Yes, we do. Leo couldn't help but grin. Despite everything he had repaired the guardian Predator, but in the process he had awakened something far greater, a protector, an ally, maybe even a friend. And though the future was uncertain, one thing was clear: they were in this together now. The sky over Kasari 9 had cleared, but the colony bore the scars of battle. Smoldering ruins dotted the landscape, and the once driving frontier town was now a mix of wreckage and survivors picking through the debris. But the readerships were gone, and the people were safe thanks to the Guardian Predator. Leo stood outside his workshop, watching as the remaining settlers emerged from their shelters. His heart was still racing, but it was filled with a strange mixture of relief and disbelief. The massive machine that had once been feared as a weapon of mass destruction had saved them all. The people of Kasari were alive because of the very thing they had considered scrapping for parts. As he watched, he saw R.A. running toward him, her face flushed with excitement and disbelief. You did it, she shouted, skidding to a stop in front of him. Her eyes flicked to the towering figure of the Guardian Predator, standing still now, its red optics dimming as if it were settling into a restful state. That thing, what even is it now? Leo let out a long breath, shaking his head. It's more than just a machine. I'm still figuring that out myself. R.A. looked up at the Predator. In her voice, it could have destroyed the whole colony. I mean, it could have wiped us off the map, but it didn't. It fought for us. Yeah, Leo said, his voice softened. There was a pause as the weight of what had happened settled over them. The other colonists were starting to gather, now murmuring in confusion and wonder. The Guardian Predator had been a legend, something from a distant past, and now it stood among them, alive, aware, and with a will of its own. What now? R.A. asked, turning to Leo. What do we do with it? Leo glanced back at the Predator, still unsure of the answer himself. I think that depends on what it wants. Later that day, after the dust had settled and the fires had been put out, Leo returned to his workshop. The Predator had been standing outside for hours, still and silent, but its presence had kept the colonists on edge. They didn't know what to make of it, this massive machine that had suddenly become their protector. Leo stood before the Predator, his thoughts racing. He had reactivated its systems, brought it back to life, but now he was faced with a question he hadn't anticipated. What happens next? The machine had proven itself capable of making decisions, of choosing a path that went beyond its programming, and now it had no masters, no creators pulling its strings. What are you thinking? Leo asked, his voice low as he stepped up to the massive machine. It didn't move at first. Its red optics dimmed to faint glows, as if in deep thought. Then slowly the Predator's head turned toward him. Its optics flared brighter, and the voice that emerged from it was calm but filled with a strange depth of emotion. I am free, the Predator said, its words deliberate for the first time in my existence. I am not bound by orders, by a directive. I no longer serve the Zari. Leo nodded, feeling a pain of sympathy for the machine. It was like waking up from a nightmare only to find the world had moved on without you. The Zari, the ancient race that had created the Predator and hundreds of others like It were long gone the wars they had fought were little more than distant memories, and now the machine was alone, in a galaxy that no longer had a place for it. So, what will you do now? Leo asked, crossing his arms. He genuinely wanted to know what the Predator would choose now, that it had the power to make its own decisions. The Predator's voice was steady. I was built to protect. It is the one purpose that still resonates within me, but I will no longer be used as a weapon of tyranny. I will protect those who need it. Leo smiled, a sense of relief washing over him. He had feared that the machine might return to its old ways, that it might become a rogue force with no regard for humanity, but it seemed the Predator had made a choice to defend rather than destroy. I can live with that, Leo said, grinning up at the machine. You've already saved this colony. I think we could use you around here. The Predator was silent for a moment, as if considering his words. I am yours to command, Leo. You brought me back from the brink of death. You gave me life again. I will follow your lead. Leo's grin faltered, and he shook his head. No, I don't want to command you. You're not just a machine anymore. You can decide for yourself. If you want to stay here and protect this place, you can, but you're not mine. The Predator's tilted its head slightly, as if processing the idea. I understand, but I owe you a debt, Leo. You showed me kindness where others would have scrapped me for parts. One choose to remain by your side. Leo felt a warmth in his chest, a sense of pride swelling within him. He had never imagined that repairing an ancient war machine would lead to something like this, a partnership, a bond between man and machine. Well then, he said, extending a hand toward the towering Predator, knowing full well the gesture was symbolic. I guess we're a team. The Predator's optics flared briefly, and though it didn't physically return the handshake, Leo felt the connection between them solidify. Yes, the machine said, we are a team. Over the next few days, word of the battle spread quickly through the colony. The people of Kasari and were still reeling from the attack, but as they began to rebuild, they started to see the guardian Predator in a new light. Fear turned to cautious respect as they watched the machine assist in the reconstruction efforts. It moved debris, cleared the wreckage, and repaired damaged infrastructure with the same precision it had used to obliterate the Raider fleet. The Colony Council, initially terrified of the idea of reactivating the Predator, now found themselves in a difficult position. The machine had saved their lives and their colony, but it was still a symbol of an ancient destructive force. Some argued that it should be decommissioned, dismantled for the safety of everyone. Others, however, saw its potential as a guardian, a protector in a dangerous galaxy. One evening, as the sun set behind the jagged mountains surrounding Kasari 9, the council held an emergency meeting. Leo was called in to explain the situation, and he found himself standing before the colony's leaders, facing their questions and concerns. Counselor H, an older man with a stern face and graying hair, spoke first. Leo, you've done something extraordinary, but also dangerous. You've woken a war machine that could easily wipe us out if it chose to. Leo straightened his shoulders. It didn't choose that. The Predator made the decision to protect us, not destroy us. It could have leveled the colony, but instead it fought off. The Raiders have frowned, but how do we know it won't change its mind? How do we trust something like that? Leo took a deep breath. He had been prepared for this, because it's not just a machine anymore. It's aware, it's intelligent, and it's capable of making choices. It chose to defend us. It chose to stay. It doesn't want to be a weapon. Another counselor, a younger woman named Vea, leaned forward. You're saying it has a conscience? Leo nodded in a way. Yes, it can think for itself. It's not bound by old programming. It rejected the violence of its past. It wants to protect the colony, but it's not doing that because it has to. It's doing it because it wants to. The counselors exchanged uneasy glances. Hovels frown deepened, but Vea seemed Intrigued, what are you suggesting we do? With it, she asked. Leo looked her in the eye. We let it stay, let it be part of the colony as our protector. The galaxy is full of threat, raiders, pirates, hostile forces. With the Guardian on our side, we'll be safer than we've ever been. There was a long silence as the council considered his words. Finally have spoke again, his tone grudging but resigned. If what you say is true, then perhaps we can give it a chance, but we will be watching. Leo, if that thing ever poses a threat to this colony, it's on your head. Leo nodded. Fair enough. In the days that followed, the colony gradually began to accept the presence of the Guardian Predator. It wasn't easy at first. Many people still feared the machine, and whispers of caution echoed through the streets, but as the Predator continued to help with rebuilding efforts, that fear slowly gave way to trust. Leo spent more time with the machine, learning about its past, its capabilities, and its perspective on the world. It shared stories of ancient battles, of the rise and fall of civilizations, and of the betrayal that had left it broken and forgotten. Leo listened, fascinated, as the Predator revealed glimpses of a galaxy long past, a history written in blood and metal. And as the colony healed, so did the bond between Leo and the Predator. They became partners. More than that, they became friends. Leo no longer saw the machine as just an old tool. It had become something much greater, something that went beyond what it was built for. One day, as the sun set and the sky turned red and orange, Leo stood next to the Guardian Predator at the edge of the colony. The calm air felt peaceful. What do you see out there? Leo asked, looking up at the giant machine. The Predator's eyes glowed softly as it looked at the horizon, a galaxy full of uncertainty, but also possibility. Leo smiled. We'll face it together, right? The Predator's voice was quiet, almost thoughtful. Yes, together. And so, the human mechanic and the ancient war machine, united by trust and purpose, stood ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy would bring. Their partnership was one that would last.